What's up, everybody? Welcome back into another episode of Tide Talk Live, a special live edition here on Tuesday night, just a few days before Alabama's second scrimmage of fall camp. Stacey Blackwood, joined as always by my good buddy Jake Thomas. Jake, how you doing on this Tuesday evening?
Man, I'm doing great. I am so glad that Heat has finally left Alabama for at least a day or two. But it was awful yesterday. The day was nice. It felt like cool, crisp fall weather. But
It felt like it was a Saturday morning in the fall, and college football was going to be on the TV all day.
oh
So
man,
it was just
yeah,
getting us in the mood for that, and I'm certainly ready for the college football season, Jake, which is just now, a couple weeks away.
mm-hmm.
2 weeks from Saturday. No, excuse me, a week from Saturday.
Yeah,
We will have, I think, college football, and then 2 weeks from that is Alabama's first game against Middle Tennessee State on September 2nd. So it is right around the corner. Really excited about that. There's been a lot of buzz around the program, since last Saturday's scrimmage. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about a couple of position battles that are going on. I think there might be some kind of quarterback competition going on in Tuscaloosa. Nobody's talked about it, so
right. Yeah,
I'm just. But
yeah.
we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the offensive line, and then we'll go through a little Q&A session with the live chat. So make sure if you are watching right now, jump in the chat. Let us know your thoughts and opinions on the show. Let us know your thoughts and opinions on the quarterback situation, on the offensive line. More specifically, we're going to touch on the left side and what it might look like once MTSU rolls around on September 2nd. But before we dive too far into all that, make sure you do like, share, and subscribe today. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure you share us with all the Facebook groups there. If you're watching on Twitter or X, whatever it's called, make sure you hit that repost. What used to be retweet. Hit that repost button now. Like I said, if you're on YouTube, make sure you do subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our content here. And make sure you jump in the comment section or the live chat right now. And we would greatly appreciate that. Jake, there's been a lot discussed over the past few days since the scrimmage on Saturday. We talked on Sunday when we recorded about everything needs to be discussed within context, and because that's so important in regards to how you perceive things. From a context standpoint, there's something that needs to be added as far as the quarterbacks go. From all indications, Jalen Milroe was the first team quarterback and scrimmaged the majority of the time against the second team defense, and Simpson was the quarterback of the second team offense and spent the majority of the scrimmage against first team defense. So that just adds a little context to. So whatever you're hearing, keep that in mind. That is also important to the conversation. The chat is already buzzing. Ken, Roll Tide. Nick Saban Jr., Roll Tide. Welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. Jake, if there's such a long way, and we talked about that Sunday as well. There's so many more practices to go up until September 2nd. They got about a week left of normal fall camp activities, and then they'll start their game planning for MTSU. So you look at another week of fall camp where it's really just about the fundamentals and the basics. Do you think a quarterback, and there's a scrimmage sandwich in between that as well, Jake, do you think a quarterback can and will maybe assert themselves as the starter for week one?
At this point, I still feel like it's going to be going into week one. It's Middle Tennessee State. We could possibly play three quarterbacks in that game just to see who's the better overall player and to lead this team. Out of the four, I want to say four because we've heard a lot about Dylan Lonergan moving his way up and playing really well. Out of the four, I feel very confident in all four of them, just because not only they all have different abilities, but again, it all goes back to that daggone running back room. I feel like you really don't need a top-end quarterback on this team this year because you have that elite running back class behind them that can carry the load for much of the season until the quarterback gets their feet wet, gets up to gain speed, and then takes over the team. So that's just my opinion at the moment, Stacey.
Yeah, there's, the rest of the team is so important to the quarterback
Mhm.
position. And, Coach Saban really talked about over the last 2 seasons of how, they needed to be better around Bryce Young. And
Mhm.
and I think, this season is gonna be a little different because I think the team around Bryce Young, around the quarterback at Alabama is better than probably what it's been over the past couple seasons, with Bryce Young as the quarterback. So, you can lean on that running game like you mentioned. You can lean on those tight ends who seem to be emerging and playing really well.
Mm.
Just a little bit ago, Coach Saban gave a glowing review to Amari Niblack, the sophomore tight end, saying that he could
Yeah.
be, he's a mismatch and that he could be a playmaker. That's a high praise coming from Nick Saban. He generally doesn't give out those type of compliments. So the fact that he's complimenting him in that way only tells me that he has been really special for Alabama in fall camp. And
Mhm.
I look for him to be that red zone weapon for that
Yeah.
quarterback, and that is that fits so well with what Tommy Reese wants to do and what this offense needs, breaking in a new quarterback, whether it's Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson, or anybody else.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Stacey. You know, like you said, the team around the quarterback is what makes the quarterback better, and eventually get your field general and get your leader there that you need. So I feel like out of the four, whoever seizes the opportunity, it may not be at this next scrimmage. It may, like I say, go into week one. But I do feel like after week one, we've got to make a decision because I don't want to have a two or three quarterback system going into the Texas game. That just smells like disaster all around if that is the case. So I feel like at least up to week one, we've got to get a quarterback figured out to game plan with that quarterback, get behind him as Bama Nation, whoever it is, and ride them the rest of the way through the season.
Yeah, and Ken here, he jumps into the chat. Thank you so much, Ken, for joining. You can see that there. He said he spoke with Ty's dad, and both Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson are going to play against MTSU, and like he says there, they're both likely would put up big numbers against MTSU, but the real test is Texas, Jake, and
Right.
like Ken says, if you don't have a consistent passing game, I don't care how good your game is to beat the elites of the elite, you
Hmm.
got to be able to throw the football.
Right.
You look at what the just Georgia and Ohio State in the semifinals last year.
Oh man.
Everybody raves about Georgia's defense, and I understand so they have a really good defense, Jake. But what did C.J. Stroud and Marvin Harrison Jr. and those crazy wideouts do? Like, if you
Hmm.
have an elite passing game, it just gives you an advantage that you can't overcome. I don't care how good of a defense you have. If your passing game is consistent and really good, then that's how you beat the elite teams. And I'm not saying Texas is elite, but they do have an elite offense. They're returning
Right.
10 of 11 starters. Quinn Ewers is back. He cut his hair, so that may have the Samson effect on him. I don't know, but he's a good quarterback. They have Xavier Worthy's one of the best receivers in the country. He's super fast. They got a great tight end. So you can't overlook Texas, and I don't think anybody's overlooking Texas. But I don't think you can over over exaggerate how important it is that Alabama has a good passing game against Texas because they're going to have to score some points.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. Junior right here said that he wants to see Milroe continue to do well, but also wants to see more of Simpson having a 3 touchdown day Saturday. Is basically I want this quarterback decision to be a hard one. And Stacey, I've told you this. I maybe even said it on one of our shows, but this defense is not going to make it easy because the defense is just swarming, even in practice and in the scrimmage. I saw some film of the fan day they had down there a couple weekends ago, and I mean that defense was all over both quarterbacks, all quarterbacks really. So whoever seizes the moment and takes over the number one job at quarterback is going to definitely earn it because that defense is not making it easy on any quarterback right now.
Well, and people talk about how the fact that nobody has taken over the starting job is kind of a negative, has a kind of a negative connotation to it, but that's not necessarily the case. What if Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson are both playing, you know, really good and they don't know which one they need to play yet. I mean,
Right.
that's also possible. So,
Right.
um, it's to me, I think like we talked about Sunday, there's still a lot of time between now and September 2nd, and more importantly, between now and September 9th for each guy to get better and each guy to kind of put their stamp on the offense and prove that they can be the consistent playmaker in the passing game. Because look, I know Jalen Milroe is an elite athlete. He has a chance to take it to the house anytime he tucks it and runs it. We saw that against Arkansas. He made some plays against Texas A&M as well. But we also saw the turnovers against Texas A&M, Jake, and that's something Nick Saban's not going to put up with. And I think if not for those turnovers against Texas A&M, we might be looking at him a little bit differently. Whether that's fair or not, the turnovers happen, and they can't happen. I mean, Texas A&M was not a good football team last year, and they about beat us because we couldn't take care of the football on offense.
There was 3 yards all they had to give him that last throw to win the game, pretty much. So
yeah, and so you have to be able to take care of the football. So whoever proves to do that in the most consistent way is going to be the quarterback. Trying to get back to the chat here. Wow, chat is buzzing. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
I got Ronnie had a question I wanted to get your opinion on. What is it a stretch to ask, or could Dylan pass Milroe a tie if he keeps falling out?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say it won't happen. I'm just saying that would be it would have to be. I think Milroe and Simpson would have to both play very poorly. I mean, for that to happen. I mean, and maybe it's a case where Lonergan needs a little bit more time to develop, and who knows, maybe halfway through the season, if the coaches are not exactly happy with what Simpson and Milroe are doing, maybe you give Lonergan a shot. But I'm not going to say, you never say never, but I would say right now it would be a little bit of a stretch to say that. Let's see here. Buckner is behind because he doesn't know the system. I'm not sure he has the time to become QB1. Saban's going to keep this going until yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. And people, I don't know why they can't. After 17 years, this is Alabama's system. It's not whoever the offensive coordinator is. People talked about, and I had this argument with your friends over at SEC After Dark, Corey Burton and Stephen Willis, Jake, about Buckner's got experience in Reese's system, and I try to tell him it's not Reese's system anymore.
Right.
It's Nick Saban's system. And that's not my words. That's Tommy Reese's words.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Buckner had a steep learning, arrived in June. He's just now getting acclimated to Tuscaloosa and his teammates and the playbook there in Tuscaloosa, the verbiage. So he's behind the 8 ball. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. What else we got here? SEC football says, go ahead.
I was just going to say, no, you're right. Tommy Reese pretty much just, and I'm paraphrasing, he pretty much said, it would have been ludicrous for me to bring my system in here because it's been implemented for 17 years, 18 years now. So there's no reason to bring my system in when this one it's me who's got to learn this system. So
let's see. SEC football says agree that Texas game in week 2 is tricky with Bama having new coordinators, new offensive system, and a new QB. Man, that offense had better gel early. And that might be one of those games where you got to rely on the defense to maybe get a score for you if the quarterbacks are not playing well at that point. But I'll be honest with you, and I haven't really said this, but I'm confident in the quarterbacks. I'm confident in them. I think they're going to get it done, whoever it is. Or if for the first few games it's a 2 quarterback system, I'm confident that they'll be good enough to get the job done.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. Like I said, whoever wins, I don't care if you're on team Milroe or team Ty, whoever wins out, we've got to get behind that guy as Bama Nation and support him 100%. So if Ty does win, I still feel like there's going to be some plays where you see Milroe on the field because that speed you can't coach speed, and he's got it, man.
I would agree with you. That sounds good, but Saban's never done that. I mean, that's
Exactly. That's one
he,
thing.
he's never really used a special package for an elite athletically gifted quarterback. So
Right.
think about the year after Tua replaced Jalen in the national championship game. Jalen's still on the team, but they didn't have no package for him, and
Right.
he could have made some plays. So Saban's one of those guys. He just kind of once he has his guy, he sticks with him. I mean,
Right.
we saw how long he stuck with Jalen Hurts, and it about cost him a national championship. And if he doesn't make that move at halftime, a lot could have changed. Jake, we don't beat Georgia. Now Kirby's got 3 national titles instead of just 2.
Right.
Saban's only got 6. So it's one of those things that once Saban finds his guy, he's pretty dead set on sticking with him.
Yeah. I agree, Stacey. Ken said exactly, Stacey, and it was Nick Jr. said exactly. Tristan said, Chef T said it, he wants to, believes Saban wants to not just win, but get some tail this year after hearing all this talk. I know he feels, or I know he knows what he has, but he wants a quarterback to get the ball to the playmakers and not turn the ball over. And that's exactly what you said, Stacey. We got to have a quarterback to make the right decisions.
Yeah, and I just seen a comment that I wanted to react to. Oh, it was the one you were just reading. Sorry, I was in my own world. Coach Saban mentioned today that he likes. I want to say he said the attitude of this team. I want to say that's what he said, but something along those lines. I think he likes this team as far as the mental makeup of them, the work ethic they have. So that's huge, Jake. I mean, we've spent a lot of time talking about the quarterback, and obviously there's a reason why it's the most important position on the field. You got to get that right. But there's 21 other guys on the field throughout the game, then a couple specialists as well. So you've got to be good everywhere else. And I think Nick Saban and the coaching staff is confident in what they have, across the field. And if they can just get that quarterback position to gel with the offense, whoever it is, this could be a really, really good football team.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. Ken, yeah, I was going to mention that too. Ken said I'm confident as well. That trip to A&M may be a doozy. The offense doesn't gel the first 3 games. Excited and anxious to see what happens. I think the D will keep Bama in the game. And I mean, Stacey, we've been talking about the defense a lot this all season. I feel like like you said, the attitude on the defense side especially is back.
Yeah.
So it's I believe the defense. We talked about the non-offensive touchdowns, how they've been lacking last couple of years. I think this defense is going to prove a lot of people wrong and create a lot of turnovers this year than what they have in the past, and just be a nuisance for offenses. I just don't think people understand what we have with this defense if it all comes together.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be an opportunistic group. I think they're going to create turnovers, not offensive touchdowns, and that always makes your team better overall. I want to get to Ken's comment here about the guy that best distributes of the ball, and anybody who's watched our show or kept up with it. I've said since Bryce Young announced that he was entering the draft that I think eventually it will be Ty Simpson's job because. And that's really the reason why. I think at the end of the day, Ty is the best distributor of the football. Does he have the elite athleticism that Jalen Milroe has? No, of course not. There's only like 12 people in the world that do. I mean,
Right.
But he's athletic enough. But Ty is a natural quarterback. I mean, that position is natural to him. Now, if he puts it all together, I think there's no doubt that he's the guy who best distributes the football to his playmakers, which he has plenty of. The tight end group that Nick Saban Jr. just asked about. I'm excited about that group. I'm excited about the running backs. I think this offensive line has a chance to push some people around and create a lot of positive plays for the offense. Something that's haunted this team over the past couple seasons is the amount of negative plays. And I think you're going to see that cut way, way down here in 2023. And the fact that the running back room is so deep, the tight end room is so deep, the wide receiver room is so deep, it's going to make the quarterback's job a little bit easier this season than what it's been being. And like Ken says, we just need somebody to distribute the ball And at the end, whether that's week 1, week 2, or week 7, I think Ty Simpson is the guy who's going to do that the best. So I'm sticking with my guns. I'm not going to backtrack. I'm still going to say that at the end of the day, Ty Simpson is going to be the starter.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying week 1 either. I mean, I think it's clear, unless something crazy happens, over the next couple weeks, that both Milroe and Simpson will play against Middle Tennessee State. But I'm just saying, moving forward throughout the season, I just feel like Simpson's going to prove that he's the best distributor of the ball. And I think that's like Ken said, that's what Saban wants. That's what he desires, especially with the type of offense that he has this season in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. And we've seen QB competitions go with the first week of the season. I mean, look at the USC game several years ago. I mean, I think we played 4 quarterbacks that game before Jalen Hurts stepped up and took over the role. So, and then we have Blake Sims and Jake Coker. So competition at quarterback has not been something that we're not used to. I mean, it's been in the past for sure. So we shouldn't be surprised that there's a QB competition. I think we got a little spoiled having Tua, Mac, and Bryce all them years, back to back to back. So it's just calm down. I feel like, again, Saban's still in charge. He's going to make the best decision that helps him win another national championship for sure.
They have a great question here. Hooking and booking bros. I like that. Do you think Terran Arnold will hold that other quarterback spot, or Trey Amos come in and take it? Arnold was beat very often by high-level receivers last year. Well, I want to say this about Arnold being beat by receivers last year. First of all, he was a redshirt freshman, and if you go back to Kool-Aid's first year playing, Georgia burned him a bunch in that national championship game. He got burnt other times too. Young corners get burnt. That's just the nature of the game. And even veteran guys get burnt. It's just when you're playing on the island against high level talent, you're not going to win every battle. So you gotta but Coach Saban's fine with letting his guys play out there on the island. And, he's going to make that quarterback make a perfect throw, because that's what it's going to take most of the time to beat these guys. So as far as the battle between Terrion Arnold and Trey Amos, I think there's going to be room for both guys to play. I mean, if you look back last year, Alabama ended up playing 3 corners opposite of Kool-Aid McKinstry, Tyree Jackson, Terrion Arnold, Eli Ricks. So I think you're going to see both guys, but I'm confident in whoever it is. I'm hearing a lot of good things about Terrion Arnold, but also the same about Trey Amos. So that's really a good problem to have. I think Alabama has a handful of really, really, really good cornerbacks. So that's a good problem to have, and I would be confident in any of those guys playing opposite of Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I agree. I got one thing I want to say real quick, Stacey. Chef T had said, "I just hope for good health," and I'm with you there, buddy. I want to make sure this team stays healthy. We are deep at a lot of places. We talked about the offensive line, Stacey, and we can move on to it because Ronnie's got a good quote, got a point down there. But the offensive line, they're deep, but like we said, Stacey, they're green. They don't have a lot of experience behind the ones that we have starting. So, if Andrew start piling up there, it could change some things. And hopefully, we stay healthy throughout the season. I know it's tough, especially in the SEC play, because them boys are hitting each other, real hard, because that's just SEC football, man. But I do hope for good health.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, obviously, and he also mentioned he'll ride with any quarterback. Yeah, I mean, we've said that all summer long. Look, Jake's guy is Jalen, my guy's Ty, but really our guy is whoever the starter is.
Yeah, right, exactly.
We don't care. That's just we just have our opinion on who we think will be the starter eventually. Let's go to the offensive line. That was one of the topics for tonight. We wanted to kind of stick with the quarterbacks and the offensive line, because I think those are really the 2 major storylines so far during fall camp. And if you've watched our show, I hate to toot my own horn, but all summer long I have talked about the fact that you cannot count out TJ Ferguson to take over on the offensive line. I've talked about it several times throughout the summer. He's a mover, Jake. He moves bodies. He's an elite run blocker. I'm not, and that's just not. I'm just saying he's an elite run blocker.
Yes.
Just watch him. Just watch him. But so do you think once MTSU rolls around that on that left side we could have two guys making their first career starts in Kadyn Proctor and Terrence Ferguson?
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, everybody's been wanting Kadyn Proctor since he stepped foot down there to be on the offensive line. But like you said, nobody's really talking about TJ Ferguson, and he just he's played his way to a starting left guard position this year potentially. And another thing that some of the reports that come out of that camp or the scrimmage they had last Saturday was they ran the ball a lot behind those two guys. And to me, that gives, it feels like Saban has confidence in both of them guys, even as true, getting their first starts, that they can run behind those two guys throughout the season and pick up a lot of yardage. I mean, you think on the right-hand side, we've got Tyler Booker and J.C. Latham, who I know will move mountains. But if they was running more behind those two guys, that's got to give them a lot of confidence that the coaching staff trusts them. Whenever Alabama needs 4 yards to get a first down and they run the ball, they run behind those guys. They trust them enough that they're going to move their guys out of the way and get to that second level and get that first down for the guys.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The fact that you have both sides of the line of scrimmage with capable run blockers just gives you versatility on the offense and in your play calling and your play design and how you kind of disguise what you're doing against the defense. So I'm excited about that group they have up front, and I think it's pointing towards the fact that it could be Kadyn Proctor and TJ Ferguson as your starters on the left side of the offensive line. Now, I do think that we're going to see Pritchett. I do think we're going to see Dalcourt as well. But I think long term, much like I feel like eventually Ty Simpson's the quarterback, I think eventually the left side of that offensive line is going to be, Kadyn Proctor at left tackle and Terrence Ferguson at left guard.
Yeah, exactly. Ronnie, he also mentioned about the offensive line bulking up, and J.C. Latham had put a picture out the other day about he's up to 360 now, and we talked about that Sunday, Stacey, on our video. He don't look 360. He's no fat there. I mean, it is pure daggum muscle, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, every offensive lineman now is up over 300 because I think Seth has added some. I think he's like 301, 302 now. So. He's really bulked up. So this whole offensive line, you talk about being nasty. And we talked about the nastiness, returning the identity of the offensive line. And the guys that talked about it, but, like you say, Stacey, talk is cheap. Get on the field and back your words up. And that's what I'm hoping this line does this year.
Yeah, no, and you talked about the size, Jake. If it ends up being Proctor and Ferguson on the left side, you're looking at an offensive line that is Proctor's 6'7", 350. Ferguson's about 6'4", 320. You got Seth at the little old Seth at 6'4", 300. Booker's 6'5", 335, and then J.C. Latham 6'6", 360. God. Good Lord, I bet that's bigger than any NFL offensive line.
Could be. I mean, those aren't men. Those are beasts. They're golly. I'd hate to try to get around them.
I'm excited about I would say as far as positions that, there's kind of some uncertainty about, but I'm really confident in. There's two of them. One is the offensive line, and the other is the secondary. And a lot of that goes back to what Ken said here in the comments earlier when, we were asked about Terran Arnold and Trey Amos and that competition there at corner. And he brings up a great point. Part of playing corner is you better have some safety help over the top, or you're not setting yourself up for success. And I like what the safeties look like this year. We've talked about Caleb Downs a ton. Jalen Key, the transfer from UAB, has come in and fit right in. It's amazing how well both he and Trey Amos have fit into this defensive scheme so far. So I'm with Ken there. I think that the secondary will be so much more improved because we have some playmakers there in the back end. Not that Battle and Helens were bad players. I think they were solid players, but I think what we have now is a notch above that, and I think you're going to see that early and often.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. We talked about Caleb Downs. I mean, what is there more to say about that kid? I mean, he's a true dadgum freshman coming in and day one starting out on the first team defense. That's how much confidence the coaching staff has in him. I mean, he could be he will probably be I don't know. I'm saying probably he will be at least a 3-year starter in his career at Alabama. I can say that with no doubt whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah. Nick Saban Jr. says even Elijah Pritchett. Yeah. He's about
Yeah.
6'6", 310, I think. So, over 300 pounds, great length. And look, don't take the fact that Kadyn Proctor has come in and most likely overtaken Pritchett as a negative towards Pritchett.
Right.
Pritchett's going to be a heck of a football player too. It's just some of those guys they show up and they're elite. I mean, it's rare, but it happens. I mean, think about Jonah Williams, Andre Smith, going all the way back to Andre Smith. Like I said, Jonah Williams. You look, Alex Leatherwood started very early on. Evan Neal. So, towards the end of his freshman year, J.C. Latham was getting a lot of action. So, Tyler Booker. So there's just some of those guys they come in and they're already grown men and ready to play.
Right. And stay on the offensive line real quick. I've seen a lot of people have compared Seth this year to Ryan Kelly potentially, and honestly, I believe he could live up to that hype because he's just, it seemed like once he got slotted in at center a few years ago, the offensive line improved, especially running the ball, like we said. So I feel like he's going to be the leader on that offensive line, along with Booker and Latham, and of course he is a field general at that position, getting everybody into place and marking who's coming, on blitzes and stuff. So I really like that comparison because I feel like he can get to that level.
Yeah. Jim has a great comment here. He said, biggest difference may be new inside linebackers coach, no gaping holes in the middle of the field this season. Yeah. I feel like we've underperformed inside linebacker over the last few seasons. And, I like the hire of Robert Balla, the new linebackers coach. I think he fits what Kevin Steele likes really, really well. So I think they mesh well. I think they both demand a lot out of their inside linebackers. And everything that we've heard, Deontay Lawson has become a beast at inside linebacker.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, and I say this because he's had issues with his health since he's been there. But if Deontay Lawson stays healthy, it would not surprise me if he won the Butkus. And I know guys that are out there like Harold Perkins at LSU, who arguably one of the best players in the country, regardless of position. But Deontay Lawson is an elite linebacker, and if he can stay healthy, he could have a great season. Then you look at there's some competition there as well, but it does feel like, at least at this moment, that Jahad Campbell is holding that down, but Trez Marshall is right there with him, and you got guys behind him like Justin Jefferson and Sean Murphy. Kendrick Blackshire's been in the program a long time, so there's plenty of depth there. But Deontay Lawson has a chance to have a special season. I think he is enjoying the fact that he's being coached by Robert Balla and Kevin Steele.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Stacey. And talking about the linebackers, and we've talked about this throughout the offseason as well. I feel like the linebackers are going to be better this year because the defensive line and those guys are going to be better than what they have been in the past.
Yeah.
We talk about the defensive line. They don't have a lot of stats per se, but much like the A-Day game, you didn't hear their names called a lot, but you saw a lot of linebackers getting tackles for loss, stuff like that. So if they're in the backfield, the linebackers are in the backfield, that means the defensive line is holding their guys up that an offensive lineman cannot get free to block a rushing linebacker or a blitzing linebacker. So keep your eye on that. I feel like the defensive line is going to be improved as well this year.
Yeah, that's a position group. I probably should have mentioned them in that group of, there's a little bit of uncertainty, but there's really not uncertainty because Justin Aboybe is a great player. He really was playing his best football before he got injured last season. Tim Smith, even Coach Saban mentioned how he's had an up and down fall camp. He really needs to be a more consistent player, but when he's on, he's as good as they come. And Jaheim Otis, a beast. I mean, a guy who come in and did the work to lose the weight, get into shape, and then make an impact as a true freshman. And he just seems to be building on that, here in his sophomore season. And I look for him to be one of the more dominant interior defensive linemen in the country this season. And, there's depth behind those guys as well.
Right.
James Smith, the freshman, Jamarian Latham, a guy who's a veteran, Damon Payne.
Mm-hmm.
So there's plenty of depth there as well. Coach Saban wants to build a little bit more consistent depth there on the defensive line, but I'm really excited about what they could do this fall.
Yep. Stacey, we got a comment there with all the young wide receivers. Y'all think we would go 5 wide much?
I don't know. That's a good question because there is so many receivers. I mean, there's really 8 receivers that could play with the first team.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening, but I wouldn't rule it out because you never know. I mean, but I feel more 12 personnel, one running back, 2 tight ends is going to be the most usage for the offense. But man, there's so many good receivers. I mean, you think about guys who are not the main names, guys like Emmanuel Henderson, Shaz Preston, the two freshmen, Jalen Hell and Jaron Hamilton, the other freshman, Cole Adams, who was having a great spring until he got injured earlier this year. So there is a lot of talent there, but it just feels like this team is built more for 2 tight ends and a running back and maybe a 3 wide receiver set. So I'm going to say it's not likely, but it's certainly possible.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. I do feel like our strength is going to be doing the 12 personnel, the 2 tight ends, 3 wide receiver set, and then you can mix and match those 8 guys anywhere because most of them can play at any position there. You can put Law, Prentice both at slot. Bond can be a slot guy, but I feel like he can also, go on the outside as well if need be. So we can mix and match pretty well to stay in that 12 personnel with 2 tight ends and the 3 wide receivers. Because honestly, do you really want to take one? If these tight ends are all they're talked about and how they've been playing this camp, do you really want to take them off the field? Especially Amari Knobloch, who seems like he's having an outstanding camp. So, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I think that's something that'll get answered pretty soon in the season. I think we talked about it all summer long. The effort this season is going to get, it's not to shy away from the passing game, but it's to kind of reestablish a more physical presence on the offensive side of the football. So I think we're going to see more tight ends and a more heavy dose of a running game. I'm not saying we're going to run it 50 times a game.
Right.
I just feel like there'll be a more concentrated effort to be more physical. And that comes with running the football. But you got to be able, we talked about it at the beginning of the show, Jake. I don't care how great your rushing attack is. If you can't make plays in the passing game, you're not going to win a championship. Right. You're not. I mean, look at what Stetson Bennett did bringing Georgia back against Ohio State. It wasn't because of the running game. It's because they made play. Stetson Bennett made play passing game.
Yeah,
and that's what you got to do to beat the elite teams. And I don't care how great that offensive line is, how great that rushing attack is. If you don't make plays in the passing game, you will not win a championship. It's a fact. I mean, it's just a fact.
You're right, Stacey. Nick Saban Jr. said he don't think that we'll go 5 wide receivers either, just because of the tight end room. So, and Jim also said receivers dropping passes have made it easier for Saban. To talk about Knobloch being a mismatch, that's one thing we talked about. We feel like this wide receiver room has got to clean up the drop passes. So, we're still seeing a little bit here and there, but hopefully by season gets here, they'll get that cleaned up a bit.
Yeah, Alabama had 24 drops as a team last season. That's a lot. I mean, they played 13 games, so it's nearly 2 a game. Might as well just say 2 a game. That's way too many. They need to cut that. I mean, obviously you don't want any drop passes, right. But if that number could get down to 10 or 12, I think that would be much better. I mean, you think about that Tennessee game, Jake, the drop pass by Jahmyr Gibbs there probably cost us that game. If he catches that ball as we get set, that's probably scores a touchdown.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make a difference what Tennessee does with it. You know what I mean? So you got to catch the football. And look, I want to add context to this as well. obviously drops were an issue last year. Saban's kept on talking about them throughout the spring and throughout the fall camp. So obviously it is a bit of a problem, but there needs to be context. If there's one, we don't know how many passes were dropped on Saturday. We don't know for sure.
Right.
But if it was one drop pass, but it was a big one, then of course Saban's going to bring it up. But so we need context. We say receivers dropping passes. And I agree with you, Jim. It does make it easier to play guys like Knobloch because he is such a mismatch. But I don't think the drop passes are near as big as an issue as what the fans are making out to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that kind of sounds different than what Saban is saying, but Saban plays the mind game better than anybody. And I don't feel like the drop passes are quite as bad as what the fans are making out to be. Yeah. I would be shocked if we had 24 drop passes again this season.
Yeah. Keith said, Saban said drops were not a problem until in the spring, until the spring game. Go figure.
That's right. True. I mean, he never once mentioned it throughout the spring practice until post A-Day when there was a few drops in that game that in the A-Day game. So that's true. I mean, so it wasn't an issue all spring up until the A-Day game.
Right.
And so, receivers, it's probably in their head is all it is. They can catch the football, guys. They're not on scholarship at Alabama because they can't catch. I promise you that. It's not that they don't have the ability to catch the ball. It's just right now they're going through a rough patch, and I think I'd rather them go through it right now than in the season.
Right.
Let's get all these drops out of the way before the season starts.
I agree 100%. Nick Saban Jr. said that drop was so uncharacteristic of Gibbs. It was, that's just.
Yeah, I don't know if he had another drop the whole season.
I don't think he did, honestly.
Chris Bryant says, so who's dropping balls? I've heard that Isaiah Bond has had a little bit of issue holding on to the ball, and that's odd because I think he's a playmaker.
Mm-hmm. And one guy that we have been hearing well about, and I've not heard any kind of drop passes, and he struggled with it last year, is Jermaine Burton. Seems like he's got that cleared up, and he's got his mind right. He's becoming a leader in that wide receiver room. So I hope he continues to do that because, like you said, he's probably our purest route runner at the wide receivers. So, having him on the field is going to essentially create mismatches, I feel like, for somebody because there's going to be a lot of people focusing on him just because he's such a precision route runner.
Yeah, this is it. The timing of the drops is that's the thing. You can't, you can drop a pass in the first quarter with 13 minutes left on a first down and 10, and nobody's going to remember it. But you like Gibbs, you drop one late in the fourth quarter, nobody's ever going to forget it.
Right. Yeah.
So
we have
both were drops. So
yeah.
it all goes back to like I've said about what you take from scrimmage reports and what you take from what you read on message boards. You've got to have it in context and what was really going on in that certain situation.
Yep. Ronnie's got a good comment.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's what. There's a bold prediction.
Man, and Jake, it's about bold prediction season for you, Jake. It's about that time of year that you drop your bold predictions for the season.
Yeah.
And, man, that would certainly be a bold one if Burton got 1,200 yards. I'm here for it.
Yeah. I may have to start thinking about that because the season's just right around the corner like we talked about. So we need to do that next couple episodes. Yeah.
Everything I've heard is that since the summer, post-spring practice, Jermaine Burton has been a different dude.
Yeah.
And I've heard he's been I heard he was special in Saturday scrimmage.
Yep, I have too. I also see Burton have a good season. I agree. It's different doing it in front of a full stadium. QBs look great in 7-on-7s, but what are they doing with guys in their face? Yeah.
See, and that's again goes back to look. They're just it's just practice right now.
Right.
So it's just practice. And let's see what these guys look like with the lights on in Bryant-Denny Stadium. And so, yeah, Lennox says special. What was he? Was he asking about?
Talking about special teams? Are you talking about?
Oh, I think because I said I heard that Burton has had a special
Oh,
scrimmage on Saturday.
I got you.
I heard he was without question the best receiver on Saturday. Like, and he had touchdown grabs. I mean, it was just made a lot of plays.
And you talking about drop passes? That's uncharacteristic of him because at Georgia, I don't think he ever dropped pass.
In his 2 seasons at Georgia, he has 0 drops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's trying to atone from last year. And look, I think I wrote about this at the conclusion of this past season. Jermaine Burton, the last 4 games of the season, had more yards receiving and more touchdowns than he did the previous 9 games.
That is wild.
Folks have to remember that was his first year in Tuscaloosa, acclimating to a new offensive system, a new quarterback, a new set of receivers to work with, to play with. And you saw what he could do from the Ole Miss game on, he was a really good receiver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lennon said, I'm glad he's back. We need some vets at wide receiver position. I agree. Ken Joe says Julian Sain will be the starter next year. The way Dylan Lonergan's playing this spring, he may, it sounds like Sain's going to have some competition next year, along with Ty.
Yeah, I mean, there's but the truth is, every quarterback on the roster could be back next season. So
exactly.
I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, not because of the portal, but I do like Julian Sain. I'll say that. How many picks did Milroe toss in the scrimmage? I heard that the 3 main guys each threw 1 interception. That's what I heard.
Yep. So,
Dylan can play.
Yeah,
Dylan can play. I hope he doesn't transfer. I'll be honest with you. If there's anybody in the current quarterback room that I don't want to transfer, it's Dylan Lonergan.
Right. Yeah. And he's also playing baseball for the team this year too. I think he did last year. So
yeah, and we need to go back and find. We need somebody to be like our archive person.
Right.
When we signed both Eli Holstein and Dylan Lonergan, I said, look, Dylan Lonergan's already a polished passer. That dude he can play. I mean, he's just, you can tell he's a gamer and that he's a natural quarterback. Like the position just comes natural to him. Like he doesn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
It's just effortless to him. Yeah. He throws so easily. It's a natural thing for Dylan. And I talked about that, even though Eli was the more highly coveted prospect, I thought at this point in time that Dylan was the better of the bunch.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Stacey. Y'all are so right about Dylan. Hope he stays. One guy made a comment up here, B Jammin. He said it's time for Burton to grow up and quit that standing over players and staring at them after making a good play. You never saw that with Julio or Smitty doing that. So, I feel like he, like you said, he's transitioned and he's, gotten it back up here. I feel like that's where it was just mental mistakes with him last year. And if he puts it all right here, man, he is going to have a special season.
Yeah, Jim talked about Lonergan reps with the first team, and I think after this scrimmage coming up Saturday, it could tell you a lot. I mean, it could tell you where Lonergan's at as far as the current competition, and I think it'll certainly tell us where both Ty and Jalen are at.
Right. Yeah, we may learn a lot at this next scrimmage Saturday. We'll see.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. We're going to learn something, and it may not be what we want to learn, but we'll learn something.
Yeah, and man, I'm just ready for football season, man. It's just right around the corner. I like Dylan better than Eli coming out of high school. I think a lot of people are high on Lonergan coming out of high school.
Yeah. People got infatuated with Eli because he's so big. He tested so well. I mean, he's like 6'4", 235, runs like a 4.6. So that's one reason why. I mean, I do think his upside is probably greater than what Dylan's is, but you know, Dylan's just natural, man. His nickname's the Natural.
Right. I want to ask the chat and you, Stacey, something real quick. And chat, y'all can chime in on this too. But how do y'all feel about the AP Top 25 coming out Alabama 4th?
I mean, I don't care. That stuff doesn't interest me at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it don't.
A lot of people was like, well, I wish it would have been like 5 through 8 or something. But I mean, you know, I don't know. I just feel like it's ludicrous at this time to figure, you know, to set polls. I know they got to do it and stuff, but you don't know what each team is going to have from week to week until this season gets going. So, you know, Michigan may fall flat on their face their first week. Who knows? You know, so
well,
I think it's a little early.
And I hate to ever guarantee anything, but I mean, I think history is important because it provides you with some information to make an educated guess on something. Jim Harbaugh has never won squat.
Yeah.
So he's probably not going to win squat this year. So people can keep picking them at 1 or 2, but I mean, I can almost say with absolute certainty that Michigan is not going to win the national championship.
Right. Because he ain't got past the first round of the playoffs.
I mean, he couldn't beat TCU.
I know.
Who didn't belong in the same atmosphere as Georgia.
No. Chef T said, I said, put us unranked and watch us win it all. I mean, yeah, I love that. Glad we're rated where we are. Saban will use that. Big Jamin said, I'm stoked about Bama's defense more than anything. I'm ready for that grinding, hard-hitting D-back, roll-tie roll. Yeah, that's one of the positives I feel like is going to be our defense and getting more physical. Getting that back for sure.
Yeah, the rankings do not matter until much later. Saban will have this team in the hunt. And that's all you can ask for. Look,
right.
And after this year, shoot, it don't matter. I mean, you can just about guarantee a spot in the playoff with 12-team playoff for Alabama. I mean, good grief.
You'd be ranked 10.
I mean, you think I would like, but that's why I hate it. I hate a watered down field, but that's a rant for another day.
Oh my God, we could go on that for a whole hour. I mean, it's ridiculous, but yeah. Then I agree. Our defense, I'm ready to see how the defense looks, like I mentioned earlier. But
any more questions? We've been going for nearly an hour now, so we'll give you a few more minutes. But been a lot of fun discussing this football team. I can't wait, Jake, for the season. I'll be honest with you, I'm sick of talking about it. I'm sick of writing about it.
Yeah,
I'm just ready for the season to get here.
Yeah. Thank you, Q. Keep up the good work. Thank you for the positive comments.
That's my dad, by the way. Thanks for watching, Dad.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's my dad. My dad's name's Keith Blackwood.
Right, yeah. If Milroe learns how to check down his players, he'll be fine. Also, Ty, good luck, fellas. Appreciate it, Montrese. I think you had a comment earlier. Let me see if I can find that. Oh yeah, you said it's see it to believe it with Burton, and I agree with that. You know, we saw what he did, but like Stacey mentioned, his last 4 games, he was a different player. So if he plays like that throughout the entire season, I think Ronnie put it, he's going to have 1,200 yards a season and easily. So I'm excited to see that. Nick Saban Jr. said, I honestly don't care, but I do like the doubts and disrespect they have had for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Ronnie says, what is it, about 18 days? I think it's what? Yeah, it's how far is it?
It's 18 days.
Yeah.
Hey, keep up with me on Roll Tide Wire. I do a countdown every day. It's a photo gallery of somebody who wears, whatever day it is. So tomorrow it'll be 17. So most likely going to have a Jalen Waddle gallery up tomorrow on Roll Tide Wire.
He has put some former players in, and I think you had some current players before.
Yeah, I use former and current.
Yeah. Keith said he come in late. I thought it started at 6:30. Hey, you never late.
That's my fault. I told you 6:30. We changed it to 6.
Yeah. I think we got on like at 6:05. So, but yeah, it's no big.
I found the article I wrote on January 1st about Burton's turn toward the end of the season last year. And what happened is in the first 9 games, Burton had 325 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. in his final 4 games, he racked up 352 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Wow.
So
doubled everything.
Yeah, I mean he those are great numbers for 4 games. I mean, nearly 100 yards a game and a touchdown per game. So you get that kind of effort from Jermaine Burton moving into 2023, you could have a really, really good receiver group.
Yep. But we may have 4 or 5 deep at a running back and use them. Yeah, I feel like early on until we get the quarterback situation figured out, we are going to use the backs of the running backs and the backs of the offensive line to carry us through the first couple of games. And we talked about the Texas game. We do need a quarterback figured out there. We're going to have to make some plays in the passing game, like you say, Stacey, in that game. But overall, I feel like if the defense can hold them to, if they can hold them to 20, 21, 24 points, I feel like we're in a good chance to win the game. I guess I'm getting kind of ahead of myself, but I think this defense is going to get back to an old style type defense where they're only maybe giving up 16 points per game potentially. They have that talent.
Well, they've been doing. It's not that the defense plays bad, had been playing bad. It's just that they play bad at the wrong times.
Right.
And late against LSU, even though we missed the kick against Tennessee, they have like 25 seconds and they got to go basically the length of the field to get in field goal range. And what does the defense do? Allow a massive passing play. That's what hurt the defense. And so it's just, I think, just play into the standard for 60 minutes. That's what that's what this coaching staff is wanting to implore on this team this year. And I think that's what you're going to see. And you talked about the defense being elite. I once again want to reiterate this to fans because we play Texas week 2. They have a really good quarterback. They have elite wide receivers, an elite tight end. They return 10 of 11 starters on offense. So this is going to be, maybe the best offense in college football. I certainly believe they're going to be one of the best offenses in 2023. So don't be shocked if they move the ball and score some points.
Right.
Once again, we all brag about Kirby Smart's defense, and I understand why. They've been really good. What did Bryce Young do to him in the SEC Championship game a couple of years ago when he had a healthy receiver group? He lit them up. He carved them up. Yep. What did C.J. Stroud and Marvin Harrison and that group do to that Georgia defense in the semifinals until Marvin Harrison got hurt? They carved them up. So I just keep that in mind. When you play an elite quarterback who's got elite receivers, you're going to give up some points. You're going to get up some yardage. That doesn't mean you have a bad defense. It's just the nature of the game.
Yep, that's right. Your dad said the whole team was playing better late last year. They were,
no doubt. I guarantee you the only team Georgia didn't want to play at the end of last season was Alabama.
Right. That first quarter don't do justice of the Kansas State game because the second through fourth quarter, my gosh, it was ridiculous. They had that one long rush, and that was it pretty much.
Yeah, they had that one long rush, and outside of that, they dinked and dunked for the first quarter or so, but they didn't do squat in that game.
Nope, they did.
Alabama could have named their score in that game.
And they could have. Will Rockard, everything we've been hearing, he's had of course he's clutch. So I'm really going to miss him after this season. But the guy that we got that's coming, I think he come in this year. They say he's really got a leg on him too. So I think we're going to be okay at kicker for a little while.
Yeah, that's the position that you really get to see what they're like once the lights are on in the real game.
Right. Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, Alabama don't bring a kicker on campus to the practice field that can't kick the ball. They all can kick it.
Right.
It's just what goes on between their ears. Yeah, Young had 436 yards in the SEC. And look, we all talk about how that's one of the greatest defenses of all time. And what did an elite quarterback with elite playmakers do? It don't matter. I don't care how great your defense is. You're going to give up points and you're going to get up yardage to elite offenses. It's it's a fact. More times than not. Not always, but more times than not.
Yep. And honestly, J-Mo was wide open in the national championship game when he got hurt. He was wide open.
Well, he had 60 yards like in the first quarter.
Right.
They already couldn't stop him again.
Right.
And that was without Mechie.
Right. Yep.
All right. Hey, we're going to wrap it up now. We've been going about an hour.
Mhm.
Really appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. What a
Thank
great
you.
show. We were worried that our viewers would be down a little bit because our pals over at the Bama Standard were live at the same time as us. But, man, been a lot of fun.
It
The live
has.
chat was awesome. So thank you guys so much for that. If you're not already, make sure you do hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Jump in the comments as well. If you're watching the recorded version of this, go ahead, Jake.
I was going to say, and once we're going to do our preview show every Saturday morning. Hopefully, once the season starts, just getting you guys pumped up, get ready for the game. We'll talk about the game, preview it, have a good discussion. So get ready for that as well. I guess we'll start that probably the week before the game. So what, 2 weeks from now?
Most likely, yes.
Yeah. So that might be our next live, or we may try to sneak another one in next week. But if not, then every Saturday, hopefully moving forward, once the football season kicks off, we'll do a live show, a preview show, probably about 9 o'clock. Just get everybody pumped ready for the game.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching. Like Jake said, we'll be back, maybe over the weekend or early part of next week to kind of talk about the scrimmage. We'll have some good insight on that and intel on that. So we look forward to that. But thank you so much for watching. We'll be back soon. And until next time, roll tide.
Roll Tide.